Couple quick announcements before we get to our main event tonight. Who's first time here? Chris Bedgood, everybody. Let's give him a round of applause. I feel like there's somebody new. We got Rick. So the green dots were, for those of you that have been around a while, we started re-implementing. There's some things we did in the past that we forgot and just slipped through the cracks, and we're like, oh, we should start doing that again. That was a good idea. So the green dot's one of them. If you see somebody with a green dot, that means they're new, so please welcome them. If you see them standing in the corner just talking to nobody, please go over there and introduce yourself. Not that Rick was doing that, but
I was having a good conversation by myself.
You were. I know. It was a little concerning, but you were. As long as you can make yourself laugh, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So, anybody make some offers this week? Mr. Evan, come on down.
Yay.
A little faster.
Miguel, you want to come up for one of these?
All right.
Of these is with you, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right. I have two I put in, but why don't you talk about the first one?
Who found the lead? That was like you? No.
Yeah. So I was going on a notary appointment. I have like 3 or 4 of these shirts. Just buy one from Rich or be a guest on a show. One of the clients or the customers for my notary appointment, he asked about my shirt. He was like, hey, can I ask you something before you leave? I was like, yeah, what's up? Hey, listen, we're going to be taking my dad out of this house in Colton. We're going to move him up to Bakersfield. Do you know anybody who'd be interested in buying it? Because we want just a cash sale. Like, we don't want to deal with it. Like, it's just me, my sisters, we all live up in Bakersfield. I was like, all right, well, when are you going to be leaving? He's like, oh, in about a couple weeks. Like, that's why we're getting these documents signed. So he's taking possession to the property, power of attorney, and all that. So I started touching base with him, always kind of like sending him information because he wasn't really clear on whether he wanted to hire a contractor in the area or if he just wanted to sell it himself. Keep in mind, he has a license. He's a licensed agent, but he just doesn't want to deal with it. He's like 3 hours away. I got on a call with him and Evan. We did a little more digging. He's got his own stuff he's doing. He's like helping his daughter move into her new house. He's still getting his dad situated. It's just one of those things where like family members just don't want to deal with it. And then we got on a call a couple days ago. We came up with some ideas, and then we did a little more digging. If Evan wants to talk about it.
Yeah, one of the things is he was talking about just not having to deal with his stepmom had just passed, his dad who's legally blind and needs to be taken care of. He just had to move the dad back to Bakersfield. And so then trying to drive, the 6-hour round trip, then dealing with his daughters and everything else. And he did have an appraisal done on the property of it in its current condition, which was in the low 4s. And we talked, and he said, yeah, I probably want to find an agent and throw it on the market, and maybe $395. That's kind of what we're thinking. And I normally would also suggest my wife, but she's busy as heck, and I wouldn't dare do that to her right now. So we were talking, and I started talking about our offer, and I said, well, we'd be like $335, and he immediately dropped to $350 right at the moment. He just took the $50,000 off, and so I said, well, I'm going to send an offer over. Actually, we had $330, and after talking to him, we sent the offer over at $335, but he's talking to his sister to see if they're going to accept that, or if not, they just want $350. I let him know that we're talking basically a net offer, so there's no more fees, no more anything else, and the difference of $15,000 split 3 ways is only $5,000. It's only a $5,000 difference. See how that works? 15 becomes 5. Anyway, we're going to see, but if not, we'll pick it up for what it's at. And again, where things. That was one of the offers.
Good stuff.
Just to reiterate, if I do this deal with Evan, this would be the second time I did a deal with, like, really now no marketing, like just someone in my inner circle. The last deal I did with Evan, Rich, and Angela, it was just like a friend. She was just venting to me that she had inherited a house. She was going through it because the payment was starting to rack up. She was about to go into pre-foreclosure. We were just hanging out, having dinner, and when she told me that, and then I set up a meeting with Evan, and she was like, yeah, I'll just sell it to you guys. And that was it. So, I mean, those are they don't always come like that. They don't always land on your lap, but when they do, just take it.
Yeah. Remember, we had to hire attorneys for that one and open up.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to that.
There was a lot of different things with that.
might be interested in buying a house?
I mean, I told her what I did, I told her what I did, but I didn't mention I mainly focus on mobile homes. She had an actual house, like stick built. So I just kind of like, I don't know, at the time we just didn't put one and one together, but I called her back and told her like, hey, I think we might be able to solve that problem. Because like I said, we had to hire attorneys because even though she inherited the house, there was still stuff in title that needed to be cleaned up. And so she technically like owned it, but not with clear title. There's just more to that story.
Follow-up question. How do you know who to tell?
You tell everybody.
Good answer. Good answer. Anything else to add on that?
Not on that one.
All right, good work. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's give him a round of applause. By the way, who gave you that shirt? You did. I take royalties.
Want to hear about the other one? Or no?
Let's hear it.
We do driving for dollars with Deal Machine. And about
Which I'm going to talk about a little bit later.
okay, about a year ago, we got a call about someone in here in Riverside that drove by, sent the postcard with a photo of the house, and then they called and said, "Yeah, well, we own my mom owns this, and my aunt owns this, and a third aunt owns it together. So it's like 3 elderly ladies own this, and one of them's living there, and she's lived there rent free for like 20 years, and we're tired of this, and blah blah blah, and we're having a harder time with mobility and keeping the house up, and house flooded 3 years ago, and we redid the inside, and we were out of town somewhere at the time, and set up an appointment, and they kept canceling, and said, we're just tired, we just want to deal with it. Called a week and a half ago again, and said, hey, you still interested in buying houses? Yeah, I'm still interested in buying houses. I still buy houses. So we went out, I made an appointment, went out there, talked to him again. He goes, now I can't walk. I've had hip surgery and this, and he's like my age, which was funny. Anyway, it turns out that on this particular house, they had, the family situation was deteriorating, and so we ended up making our offer. He does not do email, would not meet with me. First said yes, then said no. Just please send me an offer. So I gave it to him verbally, and then I had to mail a copy of the offer to his cousin and him, and we'll see on that. But at least we got that offer out. We're not that far apart, but we'll see where that goes.
Nice.
That was all Monday and Tuesday.
Nice, and it sounds, I like that you didn't pressure him into like meeting you or just like, no, I only do it over, in person or whatever. Like sometimes you got to meet these sellers where you need to, like I did a deal, you guys in Firefast for this one. I did a deal all over email. I never met the guy, never talked to him on the phone, all through email. And it's not how I'd normally do it, but didn't someone know, you reminded me of the guy didn't he write us an offer on a Deal Machine thing on a postcard? He never called us. He just wrote down the number that he wanted and he mailed it back to us. He mailed our own postcard back to us in an envelope and said, I want 200,000 or whatever. And I think we responded and said 250, and then he never came through. But either way, sometimes you got to make the offer that you can make whichever way it ends up being. So good stuff. Let's give her a round of applause. We got time for one more. Andy, did you have an offer?
I do.
All right, come on. Anybody else? Anybody else make an offer this week? All right. Make it quick, Andy. We got some people behind you, I guess.
Well, hey.
Did you turn it off before you walk off? Yep.
Boy, people turn
Train
this
them
off.
well.
They figure once they've shut up, nobody else has anything to say. There was a guy in Exchangers today for the first time ever. And I prodded him, and finally he said in his garage was a dirt bike that his wife would be tickled pink if he got rid of. So we put it on the board. I turned around and offered him a house for his dirt bike and a note. And he didn't have enough sense to say yes, but that's okay. Somebody else in the room offered to buy his dirt bike, subject to me accepting the dirt bike and doing the deal. So today, by prodding a newbie in the meeting, I sold a house I've been wanting to sell. So once the due diligence is done, I'll have a motorcycle to trade, because Lord knows I'm not going to ride it. Oh, there we go. You got a house do you want to trade a motorcycle for?
We might figure something out to trade.
We might.
How about a Toyota Camry?
That would be a done.
You got to talk to her about that. Corolla, sorry.
Corolla. Yeah. Anyway, so that
Ford
was
or
a good
Toyota,
one.
whatever.
Does it have a headlight on it?
The Corolla? I hope so. I hope it has a pair of them.
Because I have a friend today who's looking for a dirt bike.
Who do you tell?
No, it's a
Everybody.
It's a
All right, good stuff, Andy.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks.
track bike, Andy.
Hey, give him a round of applause. If you're new or you haven't been and you're wondering what the heck is Exchangers, that is the meeting that we do right now on 12 to 2 on Wednesdays. It was the meeting earlier today. You can go to that SoCalExchangers.com and then get into that meeting. Okay, so Sean, you said you made an offer?
Not yet. I need to write an offer.
You need to write an offer? What's that mean? Like you've identified something, you're almost there? Why are you sitting here?
I can leave.
Start writing. You want a pen? No, I'm just kidding. All right, come on. Let's hear about it.
I might need help formulating.
Formulating. Okay, all right, let's talk about it.
So it's a house in my neighborhood. It's a single family, I think 3-2. We found this just a for sale by owner sign in my neighborhood.
Cool.
And I called it and they said, oh yeah, we just posted it yesterday. They said they were having an open house. This was like a month ago. They said they were having an open house like that Saturday, but I was like, oh, we're gonna go before that. So we went Thursday. We talked with the guy. It's a family of like 8 siblings that bought it for the mom, and the mom is now older and wants to move out with the sister, and so they own it free and clear. They're just they put it below market, and they're trying to figure out how to sell this without a real estate agent. And it kind of met all of John Schwab's criteria, which hopefully we'll talk about maybe, for owner financing. And so after some advice from John Schwab this weekend, he said it might be tricky because there's 8 siblings involved in this, but
That was my first thought.
yeah. So it's like, well, he's like, just write an offer and see what happens. And so that's why I need to write the offer, but
Right
I'm trying
on.
to figure out how to do it because some of the siblings want to get paid off, and I think some of the siblings are willing to get payments over time. So I'm just trying to figure out how to formulate that offer.
Okay.
So
Okay. So,
that's why I need help
I mean, we can.
writing that.
I guess we're gonna jump into that a little bit. But we can do it now. Why not? So, what are you thinking? Or like you put.
So I think we asked, and I think at least two of the family members want to get paid off because one of them has like a kid about to go to college, so they
Okay.
need money for that. And then I think the other 5 or 6 were willing to take payments.
That's for 8. That's a decent amount of.
Yeah, I mean
know.
that's just kind of one guy saying that. I mean they might all change,
How much?
change
You
their
said
mind.
it's paid off, right?
It's paid off. It's
How
free
much
and clear.
are you looking to pay for it?
They're asking $980.
They're asking $980.
Yeah.
Okay. And are they in
I
like, other than that they want to sell, are they in any type of trouble, or is there
No.
like a reason why
I mean,
they
have no
wouldn't?
rush to sell.
And this was a month ago.
About a month ago, yeah.
Okay. Have
So
they gotten any offers?
I believe they do have offers, but I texted the guy and he's like, no, he's like, we're still accepting offers. So they haven't found one they liked.
Okay.
But I don't know what they're looking for yet.
Is there a certain decision maker on it? Like, do
There's
they all
one-
have to agree, or is it
I
there's
think
like
they
one?
all have to agree. There's one guy that's just been showing it as like the liaison for the family. I think he's
Okay.
like one of the husband to one of the daughters.
And who's on title?
I believe there's 5 of them on title.
Okay.
So not all the family members are on title, but I think they all have claim as an inheritance. Like
And you
the-
said it was for the mom, right?
yeah.
Does she care, or is
Not that I remember. I don't think she cares what.
okay?
I think she wanted to hand an inheritance out to each of her kids.
Okay. Well, my first thought would be, I mean, you're going down the right path. You know, if there's typically we look for a problem. You know, there's got to be some reason why they need us. You know, so if it's just that they don't want to pay agent fees, you know, of what $50,000 or something like that. You know, that's typically not enough of a pain point for us to do something. But if they're open to it, I mean, you can always pay, like Andy talks about. You know, you can always pay if you can get terms. It doesn't matter. You can offer them more.
Yeah.
You know, as long as. So what is that? Do you know what that place rents for?
In my neighborhood, it should rent for about like $3,300, $3,400.
What would you be happy with cash flowing?
I mean, if we break even in that neighborhood, I think it'll cash flow in a couple of years.
Okay.
It's just with paying, I guess, the amount of people we have to pay. If we could at least
Do you
break
know-
even.
So I would start with two things here. So I would start with find out what the people that aren't interested in payments, like what do they want? Like, because if you're dividing 900,000, let's say, by 8 people,
Yeah.
it's like a little over 100 each. Okay. So if that's all it's going to take, like let's say 2 of them want to get paid off, and they want 100. Okay. Well, would they take 50 now, and then the rest on a note? Like those are the questions you want to start asking, like what they're expecting as a payoff and what they want. So if you need to get them out of the equation and work with the other 5 that are still open to taking a payment, like how much you're going to need to come up with. So maybe you need 100 down, and to give 50 to 2 people, and then you got to figure out the rest on the payments. But also that you want to, I mean, you're limited at what, about 3,500. Like if you want it to cover the debt, right? So, because I'm sure you're not interested in getting into an alligator for.
No, not,
Okay.
not that.
So where is this, in San Diego? Or?
Yeah, Mira
Okay.
Mesa.
Okay. So, I mean, maybe it is something you do a little bit of alligator on.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and-
saying. Like, if we could break even or just a
So-
little under for the first year,
Yeah.
it'd be fine. But I think the hard part is trying to get all 8 of them together.
Mhm.
Because right now it's just dealing with one person. So we need to make the offer somewhat enticing to get the whole family to be like, hey, we need to hash this out and see what each person wants.
Yeah, and I think that's where you're still at. So
Yes.
you want to find out, like I said, find out what the 2 people that want cash and how much they want, and then find out how the rest of the people, are they willing to just take payments? Do they want it down? Because you need to figure out how much you're gonna have to come up with.
Yeah.
Because chances are you're gonna have to come up with some cash.
Yeah, right now my initial.
I mean, if they take 100% financing,
it'd be awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like they're in really like a pain point to do that.
They're not,
you
yeah.
know.
So that's the hard
But
part.
that doesn't mean you can't make the offer.
No.
You're probably going to make a multi-pronged offer to them as
Oh,
far
absolutely.
as like, well, I could do this, I could do this, or I could do this.
That's what I'm trying to figure out is
And-
what that initial offer should be to get them involved or get them kind of thinking like maybe we want to.
Yeah, you're on the right track. You just got a little more digging to do with the,
Yeah,
because 8 people is a lot of people to juggle.
yeah, that's
so.
a lot of people. That's what John
Um,
Schwab said too.
Yeah,
It's gonna be interesting.
yeah, but it's not. I mean, if they're open to it, and if they haven't, I mean, is the house worth what they're asking?
In that neighborhood, it should ARV for like 1.2. So they're trying to sell it under value a little bit. So
Okay.
that's just its 10% rule, which is why we kind of jumped on it
Yeah,
initially.
yeah, for sure. There might be something there.
So,
So
it
yeah,
might be
keep
something, but yeah.
keep prodding. I
it's
would
all
find out,
about
and then find out too, like who the decision makers are. Like let's say there's 8 people, okay? Like, and they're all brothers and sisters, they're all cousins or whatever. Like, I guarantee you, there's one person in there that the rest of them are all looking up to, or the 1 or
Oh,
2 that are really calling the shots. The other ones, and there's probably 2 in there that everyone's like, yeah, don't listen to Doug. Like he's
Right?
he's whatever. Like, Ebony, what's up?
Couldn't he call your title agent and ask them to pull the title? Because they'll send you the title, and the title has everybody and their phone numbers on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Then you
yeah,
can
we
contact
can do
them
that.
directly instead of,
You're correct. It
Going
wouldn't
through
wouldn't
the
normally have their phone numbers though.
oh, mine.
But you're correct that it would have their names if it was recorded that way though. If it's in a trust or something like that,
Yeah, I don't know what to say. So.
that might be hidden. But she's right. I mean, you can see who's on there.
Well, that's good.
Because I mean, the person that's on title is obviously going to have the most. But it really doesn't. If there's some matriarch in the family that is making the decisions that everyone else is listening to, you need to get to that person.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
it did
so-
sound like only certain people on the title. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know if like that daughter is the matriarch or how it works in that family. But
I mean, if she's the one that's kind of
she
taking
might be
point,
the
she probably
closest.
will be.
and
But
that's why.
that is something like you really want to sit down with as many decision makers as you can,
Yes.
so that you hear it from everybody else's mouth, like what they want. Because the most frustrating thing in this sometimes is when you get to who you think the decision maker is, and then you make that offer and you find out that there's somebody else who's like, well, I gotta go check with my daughter or whoever.
Yeah.
And you're literally starting completely over on trying to explain everything you just spent however much time explaining. So,
Yes.
so yeah, keep digging, and keep an eye out. So,
Huh?
good stuff. Yes, Brandon.
I was wondering, have you looked at the initial title at all?
Not yet. No.
Okay, well, I can pull that tonight.
There you
Okay.
go.
Awesome.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
There you
appreciate
go.
it. Thank you.
All I need is an address.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll look it up right now.
So, and thank you for bringing that up. So, like our standard operating procedure kind of thing, like when we get a lead, it's the first thing we do. We pull a title report, and we run like an analytics report of what we think the value is. And I've actually started running a rent-a-meter report on it as well. So if you guys really like, sorry, I kind of assumed that. But when you get leads, if you pull those three things immediately, it really starts you off on like a clear footing of where you need to be and where you like get your mind going a little bit. Because you don't want to spend weeks on and talking to this person and finding out she's not even on title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
So, all right, give them a round of applause. Good stuff. You're going down the right path. Just keep asking questions. Farrah, can you give me 2 double A's for this one, please? Okay. So, important parts there is like you guys, like I said, every week you got to be out taking action, talking to people, really making offers. That's what's going to do it. You got to keep talking and making offers. Okay, coming in here is great, and learning all this stuff is great, but you got to put it into action. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. Not every day it's somebody sees your shirt and goes, "Oh, hey, you're in a real estate club? I got a house I want to sell you." It happens, but not too often. Okay, so as far as announcements go, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rich. We got a lot of things coming down the pipe here. Recently, we rebranded this place to the Fire Center, and we got a lot of groups coming out. So for those of you that haven't heard this yet, I'll just run through it real quick. Fire Chat's my podcast. You can check that out at firechatpodcast.com. CalRIA is something I'm working on that's policy focused. Okay, so we've had a strict no politics rule in IRIC for a long time, and I'm not looking to start a political debate club. Okay, this is it's the California Real Estate Investors Alliance. It is a policy focused group. So if you want to be more involved or try and understand a lot of the stuff with the laws that affect us as real estate investors or landlords or housing providers or whatever, we're going to put a general call out and just see what we can do with that. Okay, I don't know where that's going to go yet, but we're thinking about it. All right, IRIC is still here. You are at an IRIC event right now. Okay, IRIC is going to stay the Wednesday night focus events. Okay, the Crestline Club is something that I'm going to be starting up pretty quick. I've made a lot of money up in the mountains. People don't believe me. I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, that's basically how that works. SoCal Exchangers is our exchange meeting that formerly was under IRIC and is now its own thing. Okay, we've rolled out SoCal Exchangers to its own group. For now, IRIC members, you still get into that meeting for free. Okay, eventually that's going to change, but for right now, that's how it's going to work. Okay, if you want, that website is live. That SoCal Exchangers website is live. If you want to check it out, some of the new stuff that's coming with that membership to that group is a lot of pre-recorded content on how to do a lot of the deals that we do in Exchangers. Okay, along with contracts, forms, how-to videos like how to do a hypothecation, or let's say you did a deal for a hypothecation in the room. Like, what do you do next? Or you bought a note. What do you do next? Okay, that kind of stuff. So it'll be there as part of the membership for that. Okay, and then Rat Race Escape Club is a cash flow game night focused group. And that'll be coming pretty soon as well. We'll probably do that about once a month. Okay, so all together, they're all going to have their own memberships at some point. Altogether, there is going to be a new level of membership that still gets you into everything. Okay, but for right now, IRIC is that top level membership. You're still getting into everything. Okay, if you want updates for that, you can follow along at Fire Center HQ on pretty much every social media, or you can go to firecenterhq.com. Again, that's that thing, just .com. firecenterhq.com, and you can sign up for updates, and as those groups launch, you can get updates for that. Okay? Somebody had a question. Gary?
No, you answered it. I was going to ask about the subscriptions.
Okay, cool. And I'm sure you guys know that we do have a good amount of sponsors here. If you're a sponsor, raise your hand, please. Let's give them a round of applause. So this place costs a lot of money to run. They help support it. Okay, they help pay for the food, the lights, the electricity, the air conditioner that you're feeling. Okay, as long as so, if you do have a need for any of the services that are up there, escrow companies, Lee does solar systems, security systems. Steve over here does lending, both private and institutional. Thank you, conventional financing. Yesenia with the escrow company. So a lot of stuff up there. If you guys need their services, please check them out first. Just give them a chance first. Okay, that's all I'm asking. Go to the website, or you can just scan that code. Okay. And who wants to go to Alaska? Yeah. No, it's freaking hot here. Let's go. Let's go right now. All right, we're going to Alaska in September. Okay. Next year, 2025. We got plenty of time. Okay. So here's the deal with the rooms for this. These Alaska trips fill up pretty quick. Okay. I actually talked to another group who's doing an Alaska cruise this year. They already sold out their 50 cabins, and other people want to go, and the ship's already sold out. They can't keep coming. So if you want to get in on that, for those of you who haven't been on a cruise with us, it's kind of a mix of like fun and business, okay? Which means it's probably a tax write-off for you, but I'm not a tax professional, so consult your CPA, okay? But basically, we do like speakers during the day, so we learn during the day, and then we all sit together and have dinner every night. So it's a lot of networking, a lot of education, a lot of fun, and you can sign up for that at firevoyager.com. Okay? So go ahead, if you want to sign up, the refund on this, the deposit on this is only $500, okay? So if you want to lock that in and lock in your cabin so you don't have to worry about it, you have almost like 18 months to pay for the rest of it. You can do payments, or you have up until like 2 months before we actually sail for a full refund, okay? So you got plenty of time for that. So again, if you want to sign up for that, that's that right there. And who went to John's shop? Yeah. Did you guys have fun?
Yes.
All right. Well, Pete's coming out and faster than you think. So in August, we're going to do it all again. And we learned last time. So when I announced these events earlier in the year, I told everybody we were going to have 100 seats available. Okay. Unfortunately, I lied to you guys. I apologize. Okay. Cramming 100 people into here would have been pretty tough. So we cut it down to 75, and it was still a little tight. So there's only about 70 seats available. Okay, and about 30 of them are gone already. So if you want to go to Pete Fortunato here in a couple months, I would not wait to buy your ticket. Okay, I would buy that as soon as you can. All right. Members, IREC members, you get $135 off. That's what that 15% discount means. You get $135 off. And I think there might be a couple left on that early bird still. So just go to the website, put in that code, and you'll get another $50 off. So almost $200 off. Okay, but like I said, I don't think there's that many of those left. And all right, that brings me to the end of the announcements. So who wants to talk about what we learned this weekend?
Yes.
All right. So, wow. I swear, my brain is still like fried from the whole weekend. Not just hosting the event, but it was awesome. If you guys, if you weren't here, you really missed out. John is a fantastic speaker, and he really does like make it. It's like how complicated is buying one house at a time. Like it doesn't sound that crazy. Like just buy one house at a time.
Yeah, that's what
right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's it. But he takes such a simple concept and keeps it simple, but like really, it's almost like a mind trick on like at the end you're like, okay, it's not that simple, but it's still that simple. So definitely a lot of things that were picked up. One of the things I wanted to show you guys, and I was going to put it on a slide, so was that on his, he had a list of like let's see if I can find it real quick. Oh, come on. Let's go. If I was organized, I would have tabbed this. Finding opportunities. Top 10 sources of good deals.
What page?
Page 20, for those of you that have a manual. 1, walking neighborhoods. 2, bird dogs to find deals for you. Realtors. Direct mail solicitation. Estates for sale by owners. Fixer-upper contractors, lenders, private institutional, buyers of foreclosure sales, and other investors. So what I wanted to point out was, you guys have heard me talk about Deal Machine quite a bit. Okay, so on Deal Machine, it literally combines like 5 of these things all into one app. Okay, so for those of you that are brand new or wondering like how to do your marketing, write this down. Okay, Go to Deal Machine, one word, dealmachine.iereic.org. Okay, and you get like a free trial or free mailers. I don't even remember what it gives you, but it gives you something for free. You guys like free stuff? Yeah. So check it out. Again, that's dealmachine.iereic.org, and it literally combines a lot of these things that John was talking about into an app that makes it really easy. Okay, and I wouldn't be pumping that app up if I didn't use it myself. Okay, I used that app myself for years. It's paid for itself probably 100 times over. Okay, but that was my first thing that I was like, wow, most of these things that John says is a source for good deal is stuff we're already doing, and it's a lot of stuff that we talk about in Firefest. Also, was there anything in there that was new to anybody?
Door knocking.
Door knocking was new. Yeah, that's a new concept. I know.
You should try it, Lee.
I know, you should try it, Lee.
It works.
So, I mean, that was his number one thing, right? Walking neighborhoods. And, I mean, it doesn't have to be your neighborhood, but I mean, I can't tell you how many leads or people I talked to that when my dog was still alive, when I used to walk her around the neighborhood and talk to people, that it was a great conversation starter. So if you have a dog, take it for a walk, okay? And just let people pet it. Like if you're one of those people that walks your dog and you don't let anybody pet it, like start letting people pet it. It's a really easy to make way to make a conversation, okay? Bird dogs. Anybody know what a bird dog is? They're not dogs. Wholesalers? Wholesalers? Wholesalers, I guess, can be bird dogs. I don't know if I'd go there, but not necessarily get under. So Ebony said people that get you find deals and get them under contract. I mean, yeah, that'd be like the ultimate bird dog if they can do that and then just hand you the deal. That'd be sick. Then they'd be a wholesaler. But generally, a bird dogger is like somebody that maybe doesn't know how to close the deals yet. They're still learning, or they have no interest in ever learning. They just know that you'll pay them some money if they bring you a deal, okay? And these are people that, maybe people that work for you, cleaning crews, handyman, their girlfriends, wives, whatever, people with their ear to the ground. We've bought a few houses from one bird dogger that we've, and she'll end up in some weird house and weird situation and find out that the owners are in trouble, and we'll buy it, and she'll just move to the next one, and a couple of years later, the same things happen, and she calls us again. So bird doggers are great. Anything else stood out to anybody on like how to find deals or leads or anything like that? No? Carl?
Okay, so he said that when you buy a property from an investor, they have all the money in capital, so you don't need to get a loan.
Now that you just finished your sentence, go ahead and repeat that for me.
So when you purchase a property from an investor, they have all the money tied up in capital. So you don't need to go get a loan because they have the money. You just set up the right structure and buy it from them.
Like if an investor's in trouble and you just take over their loan?
Or they're just done and then they're trying to get out. Like John Schaub said, buy one house every year for 20 years, and at the end of that, the appreciation, you sell one house for 20 years, one house a year for 20 years, and that funds your retirement.
Yeah, right on. But what I'm still confused on your first part, though.
All right, he said when you buy a property from an investor, they have all the money tied up in their capital. You don't have to get a loan because you can just negotiate with them and have them finance the deal.
Like a seller carry from an investor?
Seller carry.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Burned out landlords.
Burned out landlords. Those are always good ones. Yeah, guys, feel free to I mean, my idea tonight was just if you came here, just listen to me talk for an hour. Sorry, not tonight. I'm already in vacation mode. We're leaving in the morning, so no, I wanted to kind of talk about our takeaways and kind of what you learned this weekend, and also if you have any questions as far as something that you were, you picked up and you're weren't really sure on. I mean, I know John did a Q&A afterwards, but there's always stuff that you don't always think about right that day. You think about later. So, Evan, can I get a mic runner? Somebody? Anybody mind?
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I was just going to say I really liked his 10-10-10 policy, and notice it said policy when he goes to discuss a seller carry where if I'm going to buy a property from you, he only puts 10% down. And if they want more, he goes, I'm sorry, that's my policy is 10%, and he just like defers to that. And I believe it was 10% under value. He'll buy up to 10% under at 10%, no more than 10% interest, and for a 10-year term, if I remember right. I don't remember the third. At the moment.
It's always the third one.
Yeah,
that I can't remember.
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
It's
I was reviewing this earlier, and now I forgot.
Anybody got it open?
10% down,
10 down,
10% under market,
10% under market,
and 10% interest rate.
and 10% interest rate.
Okay, those are the three. Yeah, and nothing shorter than usually like 10 years. That's a side note you said, right?
Yeah. And while we're on rules, do you remember the 3 L's?
Yes.
Somebody else. Hang on. Anybody else remember the 3 L's? Okay. One was we're talking about it. I mean, if we were just talking about it with Carrie, so leverage. Where's the house? What's another word for location? Okay, and
lot. The
lot.
The lot? Was it the land?
What are you in your house that you manage with people in it?
A housing provider.
Yes.
With an L. It's spelled lousing provider.
Lousing provider. Otherwise known as a landlord. Dirty term. So yeah, landlord, leverage, and location. Okay. One of the things that I really liked about the location thing was he said, don't buy in the path of progress. Okay. So which means like don't buy on a busy street. Okay, busy streets are a no-go for him. Okay, anybody know, like, you see why? Because it's funny, like during the week or during the weekend, there was certain things that he was saying, and I was like, shit. Where were you a month ago, John? When I bought a house on a busy street. No, but I did on a busier street. And it was. I mean, it's this is a busy street for up in the mountains. Okay, so you can imagine what like a busy means. A car goes by like every 10 minutes instead of like 2 a day. Like when we're up in the mountains, like if there's 4 people on a stoplight or a stop sign like waiting, we call that traffic. Like it's usually not that bad. But we bought this house in Running Springs on a busier street, and that was one thing before we decided to move into it. That we were trying to, when we were renting it out, that it was. We'd be standing there talking to somebody, a car would go flying down the street, and there's like, you see, like they'd be interested until they heard all the cars going by. So it did have an effect. It wasn't even that busy of a street. So if you can imagine something like in San Diego, that's a stoplight and Harleys and trucks and everything rolling by, like it does have an effect. Yes, Evan.
I was going to say, really, when he was talking about that, because I heard him talking later to someone. It's not so much that he would never buy a house on a busy street. He wouldn't buy for him on a busy street. So you might put a house in a contract and move it to somebody else, or buy it because the deals make sense, but knowing you're going to trade out of that to a house on a quieter street. So understand it's the tools of the trade. Remember, he was talking that he wanted to get to 100 houses before he realized that was not for him. But if you ended up with like 90 houses like he did, and then he sold off, say half, he got 40 better houses, and then sold those off, so you can still do it to trade. So it's not like you guys see a house on a busy street tomorrow that for sale by owner, I'll give it to you, and you go, sorry, I can't do it.
They say, I saw your shirt and I want to sell your house.
Yeah,
and then
so
you
keep
go,
that in
no,
mind.
it's on a busy street. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I got you.
I'll add
Fair
a
point.
little side note while I'm walking over to Ricardo. My house on a busy street, one of my tenants, her car got hit twice.
Yeah.
So, and one was like someone driving by, and another one was someone hit a car and it spun and hit her car. So that's probably why I don't want to. And then
So
I
if
just
it's on a
spent,
busy street, flip it.
yeah, and then I just spent $6,000 converting my front yard to a parking area. So then that won't happen, right?
Did you make her pay for it?
I mean, in rent.
Like how bad you want a parking spot?
They're paying for it.
Nice. Ricardo.
This is Ricardo. Hey, I learned something from John.
I didn't think that was
4
possible.
years a little too late. I sold 4 of my best houses in 2018, 19, 20. in Rialto. They was one of my best, newer, nicest homes, and I sold them all.
What made you sell it?
Greedy. Well, it tripled in price.
It tripled in price.
I thought I was.
And it would never triple again, huh?
A house that you sold will never make you another dime, right?
That's what he said.
And
That's one of the things he said. Yeah.
I just learned another one day too late. I just bought a house on Friday on a busy street. And I came to the seminar Saturday.
You closed escrow already?
Yes, we closed escrow on Friday.
Yeah.
And wait, I got a good one. I opened escrow today on a listing. I opened escrow with Yesenia today on a listing.
Good. What were you guys earlier? All right,
So
we're gonna pause the meeting. Yesenia, Ricardo, come on.
Not the Yesenia.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
the escrow
Gotcha,
one,
gotcha.
yes.
Go ahead, Andy.
I want to say that one thing he pointed out, and it's important, and we're talking about houses not to buy, but the reality is for those of us that have been starters, have made the transition from dreamer to starter, don't hold out for the perfect house.
Yes.
Buy what you can afford. Buy a house. Screw up. Make a mistake. Lose money. Put some lousy tenants in there. Learn eviction. Learn this stuff. It's better to screw up. Fail forward. Take action, though. We all have owned, well, those of us that are on the other end of the spectrum have all owned houses that we look back now and boy, man, that was a stupid house to buy. You don't want to know how many glop-on houses I've owned over the years. The bedroom count was great. Of course, you had to walk through a bedroom or two to get to the back bedroom.
That's
which
all right.
makes
I
the
got
front
one where you got to
bedrooms-
climb half the mountain to get into the front door. So, but I'm stubborn. So, I finally found a young kid to live there that he looked at the stairs and he was like, "I love these stairs." I was like, "Great." Everyone else hated them, but there you go.
Just canceled his gym membership.
Exactly. That's how I actually put that in the listing. I said, for those looking to save on gym memberships, this is the house for you.
Turn your negatives into positives.
Exactly. But you're absolutely right. Some of this stuff, you're going to learn the hard way. It's okay. And some of it, you might ask, somebody in the room and they save you from it. But you can't save you from everything because it's just, you're not going to have time to ask every single step of the way. And the situations are always different. Yes, Chris?
I have a rule of shying away from busy homes, but you saw my Menlo house. It's on a busy road. And you just have to account on your purchase price. You have to decrease your purchase price. You can't use comps. If you're using comps that aren't on busy roads, then you have to decrease it by 5%, 10%, whatever your risk tolerance is or whatever your exit strategy is. And you want to try to have multiple exit strategies. If it doesn't sell, can I rent it? That type of thing. So busy roads, I shy away, but they're not, you don't throw them away either.
True. Any other thoughts on location? Okay, let's get Caitlin.
I just feel like also it should be a neighborhood where you might also consider living. That's a big thing for John is he was talking about a house that it might have been an okay neighborhood, but the neighbor, he did not like the neighbor. So
I remember that one.
yeah, so that's a big factor, if you can't see yourself living there, flip it. Yeah, because you want to provide housing for people, good families in good neighborhoods, and you never know, you might need to move into the house yourself. And about the neighbor with John, he was saying that he's probably going to sell that house because he doesn't want to reward the neighbor by paying, a higher price to the neighbor. So, just have that extra strategy, and he'll probably just invest in a better neighborhood and a better house, and where he might actually want to live. So, just a fact.
I think it's important too. Like sometimes you're still gonna. John's had how many houses? He's been doing this for so long, and you're gonna buy a house, and things change. Maybe that neighbor wasn't there when he bought it, but moved in eventually, or the neighbor wasn't that bad. When my first rental, the neighbor that's to the right of me, his house has kind of gone downhill since we both bought it at the same. I bought his, or he bought his, and I bought mine like 2 months later, and he's got a tarp on one of the decks now, and I actually had a renter potential renter for that looked like, what's going on with that house next door? I was like, he's fine, but it's, you can't always pick. You don't know what's going to come down the pipe. So, good stuff. Anything else with the location? Let's talk about leverage.
Oh, can I?
Yes.
What was there any word about HOA or 55 plus communities?
Yes, he's allergic to HOAs and condos, and anybody that tries to tell you what to do. No, I'm just kidding. But pretty much. I mean, it's so. Here's the thing with HOAs, and I don't own any condos. I have no experience with this. Okay, this is just my opinion from what I've heard, is that they can suck. Okay, I've seen a condo that Evan and my mom back there own, and your HOA has always seemed very reasonable. But I would say you're pretty lucky. Like sometimes people, you get into a condo and you're cash flowing $500 a month, and then they just up the HOA fee $200 a month out of nowhere, and you have no recourse to do anything about it. So, but do they keep the neighborhood nicer? In some ways, some places they do, in some places they don't. It's kind of like, I think you just really have to do your due diligence on what you're getting into, and if that's the deal for you, and you see something that other people don't, but you got to deal with an HOA, maybe it's worth it. Maybe you already, you know somebody in the HOA. I don't know. You got somebody that lives in the park and knows already. But I mean, I've seen just growing up and stuff. Like I remember, HOAs that were really nutty, and then HOAs that weren't that bad, and then just the place looked decent, and they weren't super overbearing. And then other ones that you got to ask them for permission before you paint your doorknob. It's kind of depends on what you're getting into. And what?
They want keys to your house.
Keys to your house?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I had to look it up. I'm like, is this real? Yes.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
In case there's an emergency. Yeah. They need to get into your house in a regular stick-built house.
Wow. Don't buy a house in that neighborhood. All right. So leverage. One of the things that I think, some of the stuff was new, and then some of the stuff was oh yeah, and I kind of reinforced some other things. Was with leverage as far as, if you have the opportunity to, let's say it's the same interest rate or the same payment or something, but you're wiping out the risk of something. Take it. Or if you're even paying, there was somebody in the room that had done a lot of subject to deals at one point, and over the last couple of years, he's refinanced out of a lot of them into higher interest loans. I mean, he had a lot of properties with 3, 2, 4% interest rates and refied into 6s and 7s. And was happy. Who hears that right now? They're like, what? Why would you be happy? Nobody?
I remember him saying that, but I don't remember why.
So he sees it's security. So he's at a point that as much as some of these YouTube channels will tell you that there's no risk to sub 2 and the banks just want to get paid and don't worry about it kind of thing, there can be some risk. Okay, so there could be the risk that you get called due for no reason other than the bank just says we're going to change our policy, we want all these loans back. And if you have a lot of those loans and all of a sudden you're caught with 5 of them getting called due or something like that, or 10 or whatever, just because you have a low payment isn't everything. Okay, so if you still have the house and you're paying more on a payment, but now there's no way that the person that you A, that the bank that held the original note, or B, the people that you bought it from can change their mind and decide to make things sticky for you, all that risk is gone. Okay, so there is a risk to subject to. And then, if you have, let's say you have an option, or you've got a second or something on your house that you want to get rid of, but you might end up paying the same payment or even a little bit more, but now you don't have that option hanging over your head. Can be a good strategy. So, and you don't have to just wait to pay that option back in cash. You can go get other financing and kind of move this stuff around. So, any other thoughts on leverage? Evan?
1 second.
Yeah, I was going to add, first of all, the gentleman that said he refinanced all of them out of almost all of them, he would still do another sub-2 deal if you offered him one tomorrow. He would do
absolutely.
it. He just wouldn't plan on keeping it longer than he absolutely had to. Because if you do one or two, again, hey, if everything makes sense, go for it. However, when you have 30 or 40 or just a bunch in your portfolio and then they all get called due at the wrong time, you could now be a major problem. So,
and it's one of those ones that's like, it's fun when you're doing it. You're like, and you close it, you're like, yes. And then you're like, shit.
right. But as you, I think you just said as well, is that if, as far as sub 2, and it's something you'll learn from Andy and Goodwin's class or on Wednesday nights or focus group, but is you can also just do a lease with an option to buy, and you're going to have almost all the same benefits, and without any of the risk, and you can still do that instead of a sub 2 deal. That's what they're starting to do on. That's the next way around it. Yep. Just keep that in mind.
And just, can I say one thing about location? Because Yasena brought it up right now. And it was actually a really good point. Actually, I'll let her say it.
On location, what did John say about buying out of state or out of your neighborhood?
What do you think?
Probably wants to buy close where he lives. Yeah. But I kind of want to hear like his reasoning.
It's very similar to what you'll hear it from Pete, you'll hear it from me, you'll hear it from Andy, you'll hear it from Evan, Mike can too. You know, a lot of people have been doing this a little while. Nobody's gonna know your market better than you if you're involved in your market. You know, Evan and I had done, 30 or 40 flips when we decided to try our hand at doing flips out of state. We did 3 up in Washington. We didn't lose money on those deals, but we probably lost money in the opportunity cost that we gave up. I think we drove up there twice. Projects went longer. We thought we had boots on the ground. That he got distracted other places, other ventures that he was in, and and we were fairly experienced at that point. And so I hear a lot of people like trying to do flips and projects out of state that have never done a flip before. And I would highly not recommend that. But if you have family, like you got a family contractor on the ground or something, or partners, somebody's a partner, maybe. As far as rentals and whatnot, were you here for my California presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so even if you screw up, you hold your house long enough in California and you'll probably be all right. Okay, as long as you're not buying in what's that town we went through? Trona? As long as you're not buying in Trona.
Gina loved Trona.
Eagle Mountain.
All right. You can buy a Trona. Just don't pay a lot.
One day.
One house. But the more you stay in a local market, so let's take Crestline for example. Okay, my contractors, most of my contractors that I use are locals. Okay, so those are boots on the ground. I bowl at the bowling alley. Those are boots on the ground. That's where I met some of the contractors. Okay, I go to all the restaurants. Those are boots on the ground. So my goal, and John talked to me about this a little bit too when we went to dinner with him, was John's he's almost like the godfather in his town. Okay, people have a problem, they go to John. Not to rough people up, but maybe, I don't know. But if somebody's got a real estate issue in where John lives, they call John. I'm not quite at that point in Crestline yet that when anybody in the town has a problem, they call me, but I hope to be there someday. But that's what you're trying to get at, is that the more people you talk to and the more people, you're not going to get that if you own 10 houses out in Kansas or wherever. You're just not. You're not there. Your property manager or the people that are on the ground for you, they're going to reap all those benefits. But you're not. Probably not. Okay? And that would be absolute on anything, but probably not. Okay? So that's why we talk about staying local. And I'm not saying people don't do it successfully. I just think that if you're going to do it, and it's, like I said in that presentation about California, people will go buy a $50,000 house or $100,000 house in Iowa and not blink an eye. But if I tell them there's a $100,000 house right in Barstow, they're like, ew, Barstow? But some town in Iowa that they have no idea what is going on there is totally cool because I don't know what reasons. But yes, Andy.
And I like to point out that everyone in this room, in their hometown, knows the neighborhood you do not go to after the sun goes down. And in that neighborhood, there are some turnkey rental houses that on paper look wonderful because they demand really high rents.
Look real great in pictures on
They
Zillow.
have really low cost to acquire. The pictures look great on Zillow. But the people that are in that town know you're not going to make any money. You're going to be changing tenants 4 times a year because nobody wants to stay there with the gunshots. So we all know that about our hometowns. Why do we think that that's not happening in other towns across the country? So I'm big on the post-apocalypse bicycle rule. Never buy a rental house you can't reach on a bicycle.
What if it takes 2 days on a bicycle?
Then it's too damn far away.
Do you have to stop to sleep at some point? That's too far. What's up, Ebony?
To piggyback on what he just said, kind of the opposite. We were in Georgia, and Buckhead in Georgia is supposed to be a really nice area. I like going to go look at open houses, so we went and we saw one. It was gorgeous, and I was talking about it to my mom on the phone in the gas station. And it was like a 10-bedroom house. I mean, huge, gorgeous, and I mentioned where it was, and the gas station attendant said, "Oh no, you don't want to live over there." And then as I continued talking, and the lady walking out the store said, oh no, you don't want to live over there." And it wasn't because of gunshots, because it's a really well-to-do neighborhood. It was because of the consistent robberies that occur in the neighborhood because of the type of neighborhood it was.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point. There's a town up in Montana where my grandpa's got some property, and if you were looking at this thing on a map, and you saw, one property that was like 2 streets over from another one, you would have no idea that the one that you're looking at on the other side is in the floodplain right there, and routinely about every 20 years gets completely flooded. Not every year, it's not like that big, but it's in the 100-year flood zone. And it probably has been flooded at some point, but you wouldn't know that just looking at the map. Or if some, there's a lot of turnkey rental companies out there that'll try and sell you, stuff. And, I haven't had a personal experience with it, but I haven't heard anybody having a great experience with it, So, anyways, any other questions on location? What's that? Leverage. Let's when we talked about leverage, let's go to landlording. Yep. So, I don't know anybody pick up. I just did a presentation on rentals and leasing people up and stuff like that 2 weeks ago, and pretty much all of it I got from John and David Tilney. So, did anybody hear anything new at? John was talking about being a housing provider that they want to share, or if there's something they picked up. Caitlin? Oh, hang on. Go to Lee first. Never mind, since you were there. We need more mics.
She's getting her steps.
Tell the guy who runs this place we need more mics.
One thing that we forget, because we're so new age, is putting a for rent sign, like a physical for rent sign at the end of the street. That's what John mentioned, and I thought, that's not a bad idea, because at least the people will actually be in the area, or they'll be locals. We prefer locals in the mountain because they've already lived up there. They already know about snow. They already know about how things go.
They don't move up and ask me a week later, why is there so many spiders?
Oh my gosh, yeah, spiders.
You're in the forest.
It happens. So that was something that maybe we might change about the strategy. I thought about it because you put a for sale sign, you can put a for rent sign, and it might run faster. There's a lot of stuff online, but maybe they're not as serious online. We do screen a lot of people online, and they look at multiple places. So that was something that was nice to hear that you could still do. And John, what we don't remember too about screening tenants is you screen them like an employee, you know, or like a manager. You know, if you wouldn't hire them for a job, then probably not the best
Would you want them
tenant.
to take care of your house?
Yeah, and you want them to take care of your house. It's like their job, you know, like a manager.
Yep.
So.
And to add to that, I was actually on my to-do list over here was a rental checklist of like, because you know obviously the more rentals you get, the less you find yourself like things drop through the cracks, you know. So something you would have never let slide, you know, with your first few, you know, once you get to 10, then you're like, you notice things are slipping through the cracks. So that was definitely one thing I was like, I want to put together a checklist for the VA and for the team and stuff like that to go through on. And John in the manual has a bunch of checklists, you know, but some of the stuff, I mean, you know, like he's like take down the for rent sign, I think was one of them, or put it up, or, you know, so. Lee? Oh,
Yeah,
hang on, she handed off the mic to someone else, sorry. To Mike.
I'll come to Lee after next.
Two things on landlording I liked. Number one, he said he sold the refrigerator to his tenants for $50, which I thought was genius. When they moved in, you sell it to them for $50, and then if it breaks or it leaks, it's theirs. So, and then if you sell it to them for $50, easy come, easy go. They're probably going to leave it behind for the next people too. And not meeting somebody at the house to show the rentals, telling them to go look at it,
like that
look
too,
on the
yeah.
outside. Oh, you're interested? Okay, come to my office. I'll give you a key. You leave your ID, and then you can go check it out. And I thought that was really smart. I've wasted a lot of time showing rentals to people that like weren't interested at all.
Yep.
And, yeah. That was good.
I like that too, because part of my, you know, when I talked to you guys about this before was pre-screening, which was saving me, you know, a lot of time of at least not showing anybody that didn't even meet the basic requirements. Okay, but like this, I don't know what the difference was. Most of the time, the units go pretty quick, but for whatever reason, the last two that I rented over the last couple months, I spent a lot of time doing showings of people that just weren't interested. Like people that just, I mean, they peek their head in and be like, "Oh, it's so small." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom that's 800 square feet. Like, what are you expecting?" You know, and or people didn't read about the stairs, you know. So I read that too. That was a good point, Mike. I read that too. When he was talking about that, it was like, you know, I have to figure out a way to do that, because we all have, you know, you have the technology. They have all this technology with Airbnbs where you can just give people a passcode, and you know it unlocks the door, and you can literally just assign someone their own key code, and then so it's out there. You know, I don't know if I don't know how. Maybe I just need to get over it. But just trusting somebody to give me $20 and handing them the key, I feel like it's just gonna make my life a nightmare somehow. But that key gets lost, or
a copy of their ID.
I know. But all right, Lee.
Yeah, so he bought a lot of houses from landlords, and he only rented to people in the neighborhood. But then he would physically knock on the doors of the neighbors around and say, "Hey, I'm taking over this place." And so, one, do you know of anyone that you'd like to have as a neighbor? But two, here's my phone number if anything goes bad, you know, so that kept him on his toes in order to maintain a high quality rental. And so all of the neighbors around that house had his phone number and knew to call him if something went on, which probably led to him buying other houses in the area as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're it's something I tell my new residents when they move in. I'm like, look, I'm not going to be here driving by, you know, making sure that all the windows are shut and, you know, I don't have the heat running at 80 degrees in the middle of the winter and all the windows are open, okay? Like, I'm not going to be here. My goal is to leave you alone. But I am friendly with my neighbors, okay? I would like to keep it that way. And they're going to let me know if something's up. So be cool, talk to them, be nice. Like, I want to keep a good relationship with my neighbors, okay? And to this day, the two people that have tried to skirt my pet policy and got pets, guess who I found out? My neighbors. So, and every single one of my neighbors on my first two rentals, literally this side, and across the street have all called me at one point or another that they were in some kind of trouble with the house and at least had the conversation. I haven't bought one yet, but that's where the leads come from. So talk to your neighbors. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
As far as access to the houses you're showing, I've been using lock boxes forever.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to steal in an empty house. I've never had somebody give me a picture of their driver's license.
Maybe in your empty houses.
Go to, what do you leave in your house? What are they going to do, steal a garbage disposal? There aren't any. They don't need a key to steal the air conditioning. And
you know what I always think is like, I'm not worried about them, but like, maybe they got some, not even squatters. I'm honestly like more worried about like who they know. Like, dude, that guy had some nice appliances in there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just paranoid.
You're just paranoid.
Maybe
Like I
they're not
said,
that nice.
knock wood, 30 years, I haven't had anybody move in. I give them the code. I tell them I change it frequently. That may not be true. And yeah, I've just never had a problem. And I'd be damned if I'm going to drive out and wait. I live where it's 120 degrees, sit in my car and wait for somebody to show up. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. I burned a lot of time this last 2 months just doing showings.
The house is there. You have the address. I have your driver's license. You have a combination. Go look.
By the time, though, I mean, maybe, I don't know how you do your process, though. By the time I'm showing them, like they've already met the thing, and if they want it after that, like they're going to do the application. And at that point, like I really want to meet them. I wouldn't want to meet them after they do the application.
The only way to get an application to my house is to take it off the kitchen counter in my house.
They go to your house?
They go in. They go in the house.
So you don't care about meeting them?
No. I'll meet them before they move in, but I want them to inspect the house, say I can live here, then apply. Then I'm going to spend time because I'm a real paranoid person and I do crazy research on prospective tenants. Then I'm going to get them into rent perfect, and I'm going to do a credit and criminal background check on them. And after they've passed all that, we're going to spend 90 minutes on a lease up, kneecap to kneecap. And I have been 60 minutes into my 90-minute lease up, packed up all 3 copies of the lease and left. Said, I'm sorry, this is not going to work out. You're not going to be easy to work with. That violates my first rule.
All right, fair enough. I'll give it a shot.
Also, I'd like to point out that aren't you glad that all your houses are located close, where you don't have to drive for all those showings?
Very. I used to be able to. It would be a little bit of a bicycle for now, but I used to be able to walk to all my houses.
Yeah.
That was nice.
2 things. Yeah, I have someone usually show the place for me. And one of the neighbors, I've had another tenant. Usually it's someone I know, that handyman I'm paying $20 a showing, something like that. Or I'll just say, hey, after I rent it, I'll pay you X amount of dollars. I have a park manager for mobile homes that every time I do, I'll pay him $500 when I sell, because for the showings, sometimes extra. But yes, we know somebody, Annie knows her too, who did that with the lockbox, and they moved in last year. And she had to get the police involved, and it went her way, luckily. So that is a hard no for me every time at this point.
Yeah.
Because once they're there...
And you gave them the code.
Possession's 9
officer, he gave me the code. Like, I opened it. Yeah.
911, I have an
Yeah, but the contract, the piece of paper's not going to stop them. Not that the lock's going to stop them either, but it makes it easier. So, I don't know. To be determined. You guys, again, the cool thing about this business is that you can do it however you want. Everyone's got their own way. We all, borrow ideas and trade ideas back and forth, but at the end of the day, it's what works for you.
You can't have my secret plan. I've got the best property management plan in the business, and you're not allowed to use it.
One of the things I've heard Tony talk about this before, but it just kind of reiterated it, was setting rent just below the market. And I did that with one of the units recently, and yeah, it's interesting to, I felt like I got more, or I had a bigger selection of more qualified applicants than trying to go for the tippy top of the market. I also noticed that I pushed too far on one of my smaller 3 bedrooms, the 800 square foot one. That's really like, it just has small bedrooms. And I got a lot of families looking at it because the price that I had set was more apt for like a family to be able to move in. But then I just kept getting a bunch of families that thought the rooms were too small. And as soon as I dropped it, I actually dropped it like a couple $100, and back to where I was, and which was more of like, then I started getting the type of residents that I've had in there before, which was like more single people that were just, or a couple that just didn't really care about the bedrooms, they just cared about the living space, or could use the smaller bedroom as like an office or a closet, a really big closet, like instead of trying to cram 2 kids into it, So, that made a lot of sense. So, any last thoughts on? Actually,
I had a comment on that.
Which one? Who's that?
What you just said about setting the rents.
Yeah.
Because it was explained to me that you should set it low enough that you get the good quality tenants. Because the good quality tenants are everyone's trying to get the lowest rent possible. So if you set it low enough, everybody's going to apply, and you're going to get those good quality tenants that apply. The higher you set it, the less of those good quality tenants are going to, pass through the low rents. So you're gonna essentially get what's left over.
Yeah.
And usually those are the tenants you don't want. The tenants that don't qualify for the lower rents because the good quality tenants have already taken up those.
Yep.
So,
And you want yours to look attractive to the people that are wanting to move quickly.
Yeah.
So good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
it's interesting.
The other thing that stood out to me was, again, I've heard people talk about this before, but boring is good. Like, you want your investments and your long-term stuff to be boring. If you want them to be exciting and you want lots of drama, go run an Airbnb. But ideally, you don't want to hear from your tenants or the drama, or I mean, if your life's boring and you want to spice it up a little bit, then have somebody that's kind of a shit show move in, and I'm sure you'll get excited. But different type of excited. Let's see here.
I just wanted to share something.
Yeah.
Something that kind of, because I'm only a second time investor. I'm selling my second flip, and I have a few rules.
Where was your first one?
My first one was in Crestline.
Yeah.
And from a wholesaler I met right here on my very first night. And I bought a house in mobile home on land from the same one, from the same wholesaler here that I met here. Anyway, what happened to me recently, which I thought was completely fascinating. One, I've been broken into a couple times. My cameras have been stolen. My neighbor thought he'd do me a favor and park in my driveway. His catalytic converter was taken. Here's the freaky thing. I decided I didn't like the neighborhood, so I didn't want to rent. I decided to sell it. I completely overlooked the fact that when you sell a mobile home, you probably need to have a permanent foundation under it to get qualified buyers. And I'm doing that, I was considering doing that now after it's been rehabbed, and I'm ready to sell. However, my realtor was up there a few weeks ago when I had my for sale sign up there, and there were 2 women who came by. He told me they looked a little shady, but one of them called him back, like 3 days later, very interested. Well, I noticed that after he had showed my home, that my fire pit that I had put in the backyard and my 2 Adirondack chairs that I had bought from Walmart to stage the backyard were stolen. I thought it was my neighbor, who looks like they might do meth, and so, but I wasn't sure. And so he gave me their names. Well, the woman who was interested in buying, she goes, "Oh, and by the way, I'm really sorry, but my friend that was with me, she took your stuff in the backyard." So I said, "Get her name." He did. I looked that name up on Facebook.
And she was selling it.
And I sent him 2 photographs of a woman with that name. is it one of these two? And he goes, yeah, it's the top one. I'm like, okay, I now have a photo. And then he saw her a couple days later in an apartment complex down the street. So because I was now on friendly terms with the officer that came to my home after my break-in, I called the police, and here she is. Here's her name. Here's where she lives. And I'm like, I'm really new at this. Like I said, it's my second one. And I just thought, do all you guys have these same kind of problems? Yeah.
That's why we stay
Every once in a while.
And another reason to stay close to home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Journal what
Wait, so did you get your chairs back?
Yeah.
Did you get your chairs back?
Not yet.
Okay.
I plan on it.
You know, when you're telling that story, I'm like, sounds like you'd be really good at skip tracing. If I need to find somebody that owns a house, I'm calling you. Nice. Yeah, it happens. It happens. You know, we've had break-ins. We had for a long time, we were doing a flip in San Bernardino, and the people were, you know, they had been overrun by homeless people, and it was not a fun situation. And we closed, and they immediately took the money and went and bought probably more drugs than any of us have seen in our life. And the previous owner was so high all the time. She would show up at the front door asking, basically like screaming that she still owned the house and that her children were inside that were grown and like 40 years old, but that her 5-year and 6-year-old children were still in the house. I would talk to her, like try and get her to leave, because she'd camp out on the porch at night. And I was trying to talk to her through the camera that we had put up, and she'd be like, "Is this God?" I'd be like, "Yes, you need to leave." She's like, and then she'd go, "This isn't God's house."
It's not your house either. Hey, Rich, remember our guys were working after they started. They were working. They heard the shower turn on. They walked in the bathroom, and she had stripped down, was taking a shower.
Yeah, right in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day.
While they were all working inside.
We were in the house. Yeah, it was like they had to escort her out.
Yep. Yep. What's up, Chris?
I've had people break in and went through all that, but what I do, and some of you probably do this, is I buy the signs from Home Depot that says, you know, cameras everywhere, and I even put I don't have a dog there, but I'll put beware of dog signs up, even if the house is vacant. And the other thing is, and I don't know, this is not a political thing. I'm a proud veteran American. I started putting American flags out in front of my house. You can think what you want, but people don't mess with the house. So, because most Americans are carrying something inside the house.
On that note, on that note with the signs, someone told me this, and I never really verified it, so this could be BS. But they sell 2 different types of signs that say no trespassing on them. Okay, and the California Penal Code, somewhere around it, that if the sign has to have the penal code number on it. If it has that penal code number on it, the sheriff or whoever will actually arrest them. If it just says no trespassing and it doesn't have that code on there, they won't. So again, it's something that somebody told me. I haven't actually tested it myself. Okay, I mean, all my signs have the penal code on there now, but you know, so.
Where do you buy the signs?
What's that?
Where do you buy the signs?
Home Depot or Amazon. Usually Amazon.
Oh, I was also told by Alfred Lisiaga
Mhm.
that
Just recently, you now can go down to the sheriff if your house is vacant. Did you know about this? You can go to the sheriff or the
guys for
police
drive-bys, or?
and you register it as a vacant
Mhm.
home to them, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
We did that with our flips a couple times, like
Okay.
in rougher neighborhoods. You can do that if you're on vacation too. Like if you're, just so you know, if you go on vacation, you can call the police department and say, "I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks," and they'll do like courtesy drive-bys. You know, past your
Supposedly it
house.
helps with the squatter situation too, because they're more allowed, since you registered it as vacant.
Yeah.
If you did have a squatter, it gives you a little more leeway for them to go and take them
Yeah.
out.
And you
I
can
don't
call
know.
and say, "Hey,
We're in
nobody's supposed to be
California
there.
though, so who knows?
I got nobody coming over. No friends are supposed to be staying." you know, that kind of stuff. So, okay. I got one more thing that I thought was cool was he also, on page 22, John talked about the 20% rule, okay? You guys have heard me mention this before, the 20% rule, the bell curve, page 22. Read exactly what he wrote here. So 100 mailings to qualified owners should get at least one lead. You should buy at least one house for every 25 leads. Okay, so remember, if you put the 20% rule is something that applies to anything, really, like sales, betting odds, like all kinds of stuff. So it's 20. So it's 20% of like, so if there's 100 people in this room, 20% of the people are going to, if 20% of the people were taking action, 20% of you are going to get a lead, and then 20% of that is going to turn into a deal. Okay, so if you are going to send again 100 mailers out, you should get at least one lead. Okay, if you were going to send a lead, not a deal, but a lead. Okay, you need to have a lead flow. You need to build that funnel constantly to have good lead flow, good deal flow to hopefully get that deal. Okay, so when you're talking to people, like if you're talking, you make it a goal to talk to 5 people a day, you're going to build that funnel out instead of just sitting at Starbucks or whatever on your phone on Instagram. You make it a point to talk to the people around you. Wear this hat. They'll ask you if you're a firefighter. You say, no, it's a real estate thing. Do you have anybody that wants to sell a house? And they'll look at you really confused. And then maybe they'll give you somebody's number, okay? But be having conversations with people, okay? Because there's no way it's not just, like you said, you can wear the shirt, it's going to up your odds, but you need to be talking to people, okay? The last thing that I wrote down here, and this is something that I got to remind myself too, is brevity and simplicity in your offers and when you're talking to sellers, okay? Some of this, like these terms, owner financing, seller carryback, leasing, sub 2, might all be part of your lexicon now that you just see the matrix going like this. But to sellers, they have no idea what you're talking about. And the bigger words you use, the scarier it's going to sound. Okay? So you don't have to say, I'm going to make you a seller finance offer. Just make the offer. Okay? Make the offer with the numbers or terms, whatever you're talking about. Just make that offer. Say, here's offer 1, this is cash, here's offer 2, I could do this, I could do that, whatever. Leave out the lingo from your offers, okay, and your conversations. So, anybody want to add to that? Yep.
Just a confused mind says no usually.
A confused mind says no. Good point. Andy?
Yeah, take advantage of garage sales. It's a great opportunity to hone your negotiation skills. And if you learn from going to a lot of garage sales and haggling with people how to negotiate better, that's a great skill set to have. The other thing is, when you're going to garage sales, you can tell if someone is selling their entertainment center, their couch, their washer and dryer. Odds are they're moving. If they're selling kids' clothes and some junk out of the garage, they're probably just trying to raise a couple of bucks. But learn. I mean, and when you're there, you say, this is a garage sale. How much is it? And they'll go, what do you mean? Well, you're selling the garage, right? Does the house come with it? And it works. It's crazy, but people will talk to you, and you'll find out that a certain rather high percentage of garage sales happen when people are trying to move.
And some of them even call them moving sales.
Yeah.
Or estate sales. Estate sales too.
That usually means somebody's dead.
Yeah, and not always, they haven't. By the time it gets to estate sale, it seems like it's usually sold, but not always.
Not always.
You know, and then those people, I think we talked about that on a Sold slideshow, but those people that run those things, generally, they're not just running it as a favor. Like they're the people that run professional estate sales, they are plugged in, and I don't know how they're plugged in. If they're just best friends with a bunch of mortuaries, I have no idea. Okay, but they know what's coming, and you know, like if it doesn't just somebody doesn't just pass away and it goes to an estate sale the next day. Like there is a process and a time frame, but I'm sure that they know what's coming down the pipe. So the other thing was just a couple checklists that I had. I said the rental checklist. He talked about like a monthly and annual checklist of things to just review, a closed deal checklist, and a deal journal. I had never thought of a deal journal, but a deal journal was a good one as far as just like write down like things like how you found the deal, how it went, how the like notes about the negotiation, how the deal itself went and became a deal, and always be looking at your own deals as a learning lesson to improve your next one. So if you did a subject to deal, and don't just pat yourself on the back and then never think about it again, like learn from that deal, like what you could have done better, or maybe you could have done it a different way and got a little bit better or something. But keep a deal journal of the deals that you do and review it. Okay? Any other thoughts? Carl?
Yeah, so on page 16, he talked about your income needs for the future. He uses 5% here. I like to use 7% because by the rule of 72, everything will double every 10 years. So if I make $80,000 today, in 10 years, I'm going to have to make $160,000.
Yeah.
And 10 years after that, I'm going to have to make $320,000. So this is one thing for everyone to keep here. I'm kind of a numbers guy, so I see the future of what I have to earn to have a comfortable living.
Yep.
And here on page 16, it gives you a good idea at 5%, but after working with Andy and his spreadsheets in his class, 7%, rule of 72, prices and your income needs are going to have to double every 10 years.
Yep. And we talked about that too in some of the, like, if you took my, I don't remember what I called it. Who took my class in November last year? What did I call it? The
Fire
Goals
Goals
Workshop?
Workshop.
Yeah, the Fire Goals Workshop. We talked about your fire number and kind of how to calculate some of this stuff, what you need for the future. And, yeah, it's not just what you're going to need today, but like things are going to cost more. So I think I need to add that to the manual, that you can't just say if you need $5,000 a day to be financially free, that you need $5,000 20 years from now. So it's got to grow. So good point, Carl. For those of you that went to the class, I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, you have this manual to refer to. John didn't go over every single page. Okay, like this, it was definitely not like a hand-holding workshop. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in the beginning that I know he kind of jumped over and went to some stories, some workbooks, some workshops, or like some worksheets to fill out. Make sure you guys are doing that. That's good information to know. Even if you've heard something like it similar before, everybody has a different way of presenting it. So check that out. For those of you that didn't go to the class, you can check out John's website. He's got some classes on there that he sells. I'm sure he will be back next year. Or you can come to Pete, or you can come to Pete. John and Pete are very different style of teachers, okay? But they're all talking about very similar things, okay? And Pete's probably more of a wheel and dealer type of teacher, but don't let that scare you. He's known as the Godfather for a reason. So, again, he'll be out here August 17th and 18th. And John, I haven't talked to him yet, but hopefully he'll be out here next year. My goal next year is probably going to do, I'll save that for another night. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Wait. Wynn wanted to say something.
We got a winnerism?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Wait, where's the
Okay, real loud here. Something you might want to chuckle a little bit about. I live in a very nice neighborhood. The construction, the construction of it, they were building 10 houses because they wanted to start another section where they were building 120 houses about a quarter of a mile away. So they were anxious to get rid of these small ones, and they were all single story, which was fantastic. But next door, above us, is a house that their upstairs and their main bedroom, I guess, and bath and all that, was about half as big as our whole house. So it was really a very big one, and there was a doctor that was there. And down below us, there was a doctor that had a down payment at the same time that we did, the same size house. And so, very nice neighborhood, big houses and so on. But the doctor below us decided that that wasn't a big enough house, and so he decided to keep it and buy over on with 120, which are really very, very big, nice. And all of a sudden, I noticed that there's some very popular ladies that live down there. And there was actually a red light in one of the windows. Some of you know what's coming. But there was two girls that looked like probably early 20s, and then one that was up in their 30s. And the owner of it was still renting it. And so he comes to my house one day and he says, I find out these renters not very nice people. I tell them they have to move because they were prostituting. And that was a nice neighborhood. And then the house above, that doctor that was up there decided to move. And it's been a rental for a long time. He rented to UCR students, and there was a group of ladies that lived, and they were nice. No, they were nice kids. And then there was a group of young gentlemen that had it. And they had parties that went on to loud music and all for a long time. And finally, there was another older gentleman that made the mistake of having some of his grandchildren, I think is who it was, teenagers. And one night we came home and there were 3 or 4 police cars out in the street, and they had just used a ramming rod and broke the front door down for a drug break. So you can't always tell what type of neighbor that you have and how nice the neighborhood is, because there's bad people that live in good neighborhoods as well as in bad neighborhoods.
Are you sure they didn't bring the ramming rod for the red light party? All right, everybody, have a good night.